Cynthia, just watch your hair on your microphone. Oh, Cynthia, you're in the middle again.
I'll go out.
Okay. We'll be starting the show in 2 minutes, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let me bring you back in. Oh, now I'm in the middle. It's just... Hello, everyone. Welcome to YNS Live with NFL Thread. We are so excited for this episode with Carly Teller. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Cynthia, I think you're muted. Are you muted? Here, let me get you big.
Yes, welcome, Carly. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you.
And I am so excited to dive into this because there's Weimaraner dogs, which I love, new babies, which I love. And I mean, so many sports. I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about. So Cynthia, do you want to introduce Carly really quickly and welcome everyone wherever you're from? And then we'll kind of go through and help everyone share and broadcast to the world. But if you would love to introduce Carly, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to introduce Carly. It's kind of fun how we met. It was through one of the Thread giveaways that Carly was the Blush Whimsy giveaway, which is kind of crazy. It's this lipstick that changes with your mood, which is kind of weird when you think, it's like wild when you think about it. Like, you know, you're telling the world how you're feeling. So it was really fun. And like when finding Carly to, you know, give her gifts, her Thread, the playbook and the lipstick, it was like reading up on her and seeing that she had taken part in this really fun podcast where I could tell that she would be a great guest. And Carly is so fun, and she's married to Wyatt Teller, who is the offensive guard at the Cleveland Browns, which I love. And I was just at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yesterday, so it's really crazy, but welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored.
Well, we're so excited because and I know you know a little bit about the show, but we are all about the stories, what connects. Cynthia was on my podcast in 2019, and when she shared just some of the I know, isn't it crazy? When she shared some of the ins and outs of what it's like to be a spouse, I said, wait a second, we need to talk about this more, and we need to share and share these stories, because there's so much that I learned, and so much now that I think, like when your husband gets traded, and my kids and my husband are like, yay, or my daughter are like, oh, that's so great, they're coming to the Giants. I don't just think of, yay, the Giants. I think of who's behind the scenes, and who the wife and the spouse and the kids, and you have to get new dentists. And I always bring that up because I think when I moved, it was like the hardest thing to find a dentist and a doctor. And so we don't think about those things, and those things are important. So yes, thank you so much for joining YNS Live with NFL Thread here on Fireside. And thank you all that are listening wherever you are. If you're here live on Fireside, if you're listening to the replay, and I see you guys, there's a bunch of people jumping on LinkedIn. We are on Twitch and we are on YouTube. And if you guys, if you're in the audience, James, who does Across the Pond, he is all the way over in Scotland, which is amazing. And Gina, and I know people are going to be jumping in. I've had people emailing me and texting me saying, I'm coming, I'm going to be there. But if you guys are in the show right now, and the two little lines that are down to your left, if you click on it, you'll see where it says broadcast to the world. You can send a message. You can send a message to Twitter. You can send a message to Facebook. You can email, you can text, you can do a number of different things to have people listen in. So they don't have to be on Fireside. And that's one of the things that I love about this platform, is that we don't know who's listening in the world. Right now it's being broadcasted, it's being shared. People are jumping in and listening and hearing Carly's story, which is going to be really, really fun in this conversation. So thank you guys.
I hope I don't disappoint. I hope I'm interesting.
You're going to be interesting. You're going to be interesting. The little that I know about you, I told you, I was already like, oh my God, there's a Weimar runner. Oh my gosh, she's having a baby. Like all my favorite things.
Perfect.
Yes. So Cynthia, I love that you did the giveaway, and why don't you explain a little bit about Thread, if you want, so the listeners can understand. When you said the Thread giveaway, they might be like, well, wait a second, what is that? And then we'll jump into the story.
Right. Yeah. Thread is, it's really a platform that I founded about 7 years ago. And it's really just the LinkedIn for NFL women. I found that in working with the NFL and writing for the NFL, it was like, well, how can we find each other to take part in these awesome groups and initiatives and people and girls? Like, where are you? So on Thread, it's nflthread.net. You can just join. It's free and it's safe and it's secure, and it's only NFL women. That's the spouses, the mothers, girlfriends, anybody that is a significant other, really and truly. You get in there and you're like, hey, I'm Carly Teller. I am here now in Cleveland. My husband is Wyatt. He's the offensive guard. I came, from Virginia, and this is what I do. This is what I am. And somebody could come across that when they Google search Cleveland, when they're there for the day, and say, oh, I always wanted to meet Carly, and they can connect with her. It's just a connection we have so many great groups for NFL women. We have so many great resources from the NFL for NFL families. It's just a LinkedIn. So
I love that. And Cynthia, I'm just going to remind you your hair on the microphone.
I'll move it back.
Thank you.
You're always yelling at me.
She always, I know, I'm always like, there's something there. It's driving me crazy. Your earring or something hitting. Something's hitting. No, yours is fine. I would tell you, don't worry.
Thank you.
I call people out on sound stuff. So, and I love that. I love why Cynthia started that as well. And I love, Carly, that you found, especially being a current wife. So can you give us a little background about you? I would love to hear how you met Wyatt, where you grew up. If I know there was some volleyball in there, which I love volleyball, love sports. So just give us a little backgrounds, please.
Okay. So I'm from a super tiny town in southwestern Virginia. So Virginia, but the southwest part. Close to Blacksburg, where Virginia Tech is, Roanoke area. And I grew up, like I said, in the middle of nowhere, 5,000 people in my whole county, no stoplights. And I'm very grateful for that. At the time, I was like, when you're in it, you're like, this is awful. But now I look back and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I mean, I've come a long way. My family is still in the area, and Roanoke, Virginia area. And I met Wyatt. We both went to Virginia Tech, but I am 4 years older than Wyatt. So he was getting ready for the NFL draft. And we were both in Blacksburg for like an alumni weekend. Like, you know how a lot of colleges do a spring game?
Mm-hmm.
So we were in town for the spring game, and we met at a bar, which our favorite bar, Big Al's, which is no longer there. And we just hit it off. Did not start dating. He actually went into the draft process, went to the combine, went through the draft process, was drafted the first pick of the fifth round in 2018 to the Buffalo Bills. And we kept each other's numbers, but just kind of fizzled off. And then exactly a year later, I was in Mexico with my mom and her girlfriends, and I get a text from Wyatt Teller. And you know how when you see like anyone's name on your phone you haven't seen in a while, you're like, wait a second, what is that? And and he was just so sweet, just texting me to catch up. And and then I went to visit him in Buffalo a couple times. And shortly after, I never even went to a game in Buffalo, and he was traded to the Cleveland Browns right before the last preseason game in 2019.
I love that.
And that's it. And then, so then he got traded, came to Cleveland. I had never been to Ohio, I'd probably been to Ohio, but I'd never been to Cleveland in my life. I was working I managed an Aveda salon and spa for like 6 years after college back home. Loved it. Mm-hmm. It was my life. But, he was like, hey, I'm his new girlfriend. Hey, can you help me find a place to live in Cleveland? And I'm like, I know nothing about Cleveland, but absolutely yes, I will find something. And I started traveling up here. We did long distance for about a year. And then once he kind of knew he was going to be here for a little bit, it was right in the middle of COVID. It was like the perfect time to leave. I was never really ready to leave my job, but it was just it was just the way that it worked out was kind of the perfect storm, and moved to Cleveland, and here we are.
I love that. And I love Aveda Salon, by the way. When I lived in New Jersey, that was like my favorite. When you said that, I actually got the smell. I was like, oh, the smell.
The Aveda smell is so specific and wonderful. And I have an appointment Friday. I still am a loyal Aveda girl.
Right. I love that. I so much. So I do have to ask. So what did you ever ask why, like after all those, like that time has passed, what made him reach out to you?
So it's funny, like he was with one of his buddies, and had been at some sort of like paintball tournament. I have no idea. Anyway, and his buddy who was actually here this past weekend, they were talking about this story, and they were sitting around. It was like 1 a.m. and they're sitting around, and he's like, who's like the prettiest girl, which I'm not trying to sound vain. This is like the story.
No, please. Yeah.
Who's the coolest, prettiest girl in your phone or whatever. Of course, that's the word, what they said. Who knows what was actually said. And he brought me up, probably other people, but anyway, he brought me up, and his buddy Cliff was like, well, you don't text her right now. It's like 2 a.m. That's not a good look. And so then he texted me the next day, and it was like 2 p.m, very polite.
Right.
And so I think they were just kind of, he was single, and they were talking about girls, just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Being right. At the time he's almost 28 now. So at the time he was like 24. So just being like a 24-year-old single guy.
Right.
Don't you think there's a lot of that, you get into the league, you meet so many people, and all of a sudden home, it sounds really good, and girls from hometown girls, and people that knew you, that really knew you before you were doing anything. It's kind of nice, it's a nice thing. I like that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carly.
I was just saying, because we did meet before he was in the NFL, and I'm sure he could have met, girls in Buffalo, but I think there is something to be said about like the genuine people you meet before you kind of, become.
And from where you're raised, like close to where just similar. It's just kind of nice like that.
And it's sweet. And I think, Cynthia, I love that you said that, because it is also, it's a comfort level, but also, and we talk about this on the show all the time. And I talk about this on my podcast. Like, I really believe we all have a path. And so the fact that you were brought back up, like, it was a good feeling for him. It was like, wait, I need to reach back out. And then the fact that you were like, you know what, this is perfect timing. As sad COVID was, you weren't in the salon. So it was like, yeah, I can do this. I can, let's see what next adventure. And not everyone would do that. So it's just one of those things that kind of, what happened. So I love that you were like, yeah, I'm going to tackle Cleveland. We're going to do this. We're going to get this. And I'm sure for him, that was exciting. Like, he's like, okay, this is what we need, because I might get transferred again. I might get, all of those different things.
And I honestly, like, at the time for me, like, I was 28. Yeah, I was 28. And I was in this like place in my life where like meeting anyone organically was so hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nowadays dating is just so hard. And I was, in my late 20s. And so just to like have that very genuine, organic like connection with someone, like, he reached out to me, and it was just very pure, like very, very nice and refreshing. And I'm very thankful it worked out.
Yeah. And the fact that you guys met in college, because I know, Cynthia, we've talked about this before. A lot of players meet their spouses in college, but you met in college, but not really in college. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I always tell everyone that, because I don't want to, we met at Virginia Tech, like in Blacksburg, Virginia, at Virginia Tech. And because of Virginia Tech, like, that's why we were there that weekend. Right. But we never crossed paths during our times there.
Right.
So I'm so interested to know that when you got thrown into the transition from Buffalo to Cleveland, were you thinking like, this is insane? Like, this is crazy. Like, everything that has to be done in 24 hours.
It was so crazy. But again, I was so new to the relationship and so crazy about him. I'm like, okay, whatever I got to do, let me fly up here. I'm like, okay, let me come up here and help you, and I'll find a place. And it's also my personality. I'm such a doer. I just kind of went into that like doer mode, and anything he needed, I would have helped him. So, but yeah, it was crazy. And it was also my first experience being an NFL girlfriend. We were still so new. So it was, for that to be my first experience, and then it's just chaos. Like, I mean, he was in the locker room in Buffalo I think it was a Thursday night preseason game, and they were getting ready for the game, hot tub, cold tub, all that. And the GM asked him to come to his office. And of course that's terrifying. And they traded him right before a game. And looking back, it was such a blessing. Like, in the moment, it was really hard for him, because when you're drafted to a team, you have this sense of loyalty, and he had only been there for a year, and he loved it. And anyone who knows Buffalo, like the fans, the fan base, we still love them so much, because it's just this super loyal, blue collar, like, these people are great. And Wyatt loved it. So it was hard for him. He was like, really? But I always tell him, being traded, it means somebody wants you. Like, you're not cut and then picked up. Like, you're good. You're going to be okay. And if anyone that knows our story, or Wyatt's story specifically, and knows how far he's come, it was meant to be, for sure.
Right. And I think, and this is why I love doing these shows, because Cynthia, you brought such a good point up. You don't realize, like, it's not like when you decide to move, people take their time, right? They look for a house, they pack a box, it's like, I know when I moved, as many times as I've moved, but it's always been choice. It's like, okay, I'm going to pack this room. I'm going to pack this room. You guys have to turn it around like immediately. So it's like throwing things. There can't be a lot of organization. And that takes a very specific woman to be able to do that, and a specific man. But it does take where it's like, okay, I can't be type A and OCD right now. I just have to kind of go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And I also, it truly was, he had to be in the building in Cleveland at the facility in less than 24 hours. And it was funny also. I felt like I knew geography pretty well. And we both were just like, wait, Buffalo, New York is only 3 hours from Cleveland on the same lake. like that. And now it seems so normal. But at the time, just being these, from Virginia, we were like, okay, wait, that's not that bad. You could be going to Seattle or wherever. So it was definitely doable, but he didn't have a lot at the time. We just got his stuff together and did it and borrowed a big trailer from one of his football buddies and came straight to Cleveland.
Well, because that's the thing, because you also, when you move, you can hire the moving truck and all. That's like all these little things that people don't think about. Like you can't just all of a sudden call a moving truck right away because they're like, oh no, sorry, we have a schedule, right? So it's like, you got to figure it out.
And there's definitely a little bit of like status. Now, we didn't know people with the Browns that well to ask like, hey, can we have help with this? Can you set up this and this? And now if God forbid that happened and we had to go somewhere, we would have more resources. But at the time, like the Bills, they're like, okay, we're done with you. So you just kind of have to figure it out. Now, I mean, I would know who to reach out to for, help. And I've unfortunately seen so many girls now being in the NFL for 4 years. I've seen so many people go through it. So there's definitely help. There's definitely help, but it's still chaos. And I can't even imagine. And then there's babies and kids and changing schools and
all of that. But that's the thing, like when you first do it and you don't have the resources, you don't have like an NFL thread where you can reach out to someone and say, oh, hey, how do you do that? And that's why it's so important to get these stories out. It's so important for people to hear and be like, oh, wait, I know someone that's going through this and they don't know what to do. So they can reach out to you guys and it's a safe, comfortable space. I know Cynthia and we've talked about this with, some of the women that have been realtors, and it's because they became realtors because they were like, it was so scary to move to a different city. And they're like, people know, oh, this is your name. Oh, we can sell you this. And you're like, beady eyes. I don't know. I just want someone safe, which is scary. And again, that are non, in the league people, you don't think about those things, but those are things that people need to think about and appreciate and understand, what this person's going through something, especially if you're, on TV and you have your spouse is there and people then comment, oh, they didn't look like they were together. Well, no, they just had to move in 24 hours. Like, give them a break.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. And I'm also interested, the fact that you are brand new in the league, you guys are just dating, you're just getting started. And now you are like tagged as that, okay, this is his NFL girlfriend. This is now all of a sudden you're walking in and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that this comes with this also. I wasn't prepared for this. And so many of the girls that we have on, they say, if I could go back, I would have been more putting myself out there to say, hi, I just got in town and I've never done this before. Can you like take me under your wing, or can I get to know you? How did you handle that? How were you emotionally? Like when you were just thrown into this, was this right along with your personality, or were you kind of taken back?
I think for me, it fit my personality. I always said it was like a sorority that I had never was in, because you're pretty much handed friends. And unfortunately, it's very up and down. People come and go, but you join, like a lot of us, I don't know about other teams, but I know like we have like a group chat on the GroupMe app where it's like all the girls, and you're kind of handed these friends, and the guys know this even more than we do because it's been their lives since they were in high school, right? But you're handed these friends that pretty much know what you're going through no matter what. And I think every team is different. I've heard some not great stories, but I've had really great experiences here. So when I came here, now Wyatt's first season here, we were doing long distance. So I was in Virginia. So I didn't really didn't have the ability to make great friendships that year because I'd be here for 2 days and have to go back to work. So I would say like his second year here, I was able to really develop some quality friendships. But I definitely think I'm also a little bit older, not that really matters, but if I could tell like rookie girlfriends anything, coming straight out of college, it would be just to like really value the girls that you meet, along the women that you meet, because we all get it, and there's so many resources. And I mean, I would never be talking to you guys if it weren't for the NFL, which sounds so crazy, but you really start to value friendships and connections over like fame and stuff like that.
Right. And I do think I know age is a number and it's a mindset, but when you get older, you do get a little bit more wiser. I mean, I know when I was in my early 20s, I wasn't doing the things that I'm doing now. And so I think that is, it does say something, but you are so right about the resources. And then again, also, right, we would never have connected if it wasn't for Thread and Cynthia being in the league. And that's what's so cool about networking and connecting. I mean, connecting and networking are really what make the world go around, whatever, wherever you are and whatever status you are in the world.
Right. I feel like that, the one thing I always felt coming in every year when so many changes, and we changed often, myself and my husband's career, you just never can get to the point where you think that you don't want to throw yourself out there again and meet people all over again because they are always leaving. I was always like, no, meet them, because even I have friends that we might have only been together for 6 months, that now their kids are grown and we're still friends. Like, you collect friends in the league. You don't go through friends in the league. They just keep adding on and on and on. In fact, Juliet, you're going to love this. Kimberly Wheatley's son is on the practice squad in Cleveland now. So we need you, Carly, to look after him because he's the greatest kid.
What's his name?
It's Tyrone Wheatley Jr., TJ Wheatley. And he is from the Betts family, and Kim Wheatley, she's a dear friend of mine. And she's also involved in, we haven't even gotten a chance to talk about off the field, but there are so many great programs, and off the field is one of them. And I know Kim from Michigan mostly, but I also know her because she is one of the founders of Off the Field with all of my girls in Off the Field. I'm on the board and the vice president of that. And it's just this amazing charity that we are part of. We do the Super Bowl fashion show every year and it's just, do you know of it? Because
so cool. Yes,
you have to participate. Come. You have to be in it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
To Arizona, and it's the best time. But Kim is just like the best person, and we got to be with her at the Hall of Fame when she was there to watch TJ, and then he was at the time with the Las Vegas Raiders, and now he's on the practice squad in Cleveland. So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, I have to tell Carly, just if you could introduce yourself to him and see if he needs anything, see if he's settled, and because he's just brand new in Cleveland and he just found an apartment. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cynthia, I think it might be your sweater. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I just wanted.
Is that why you texted me? Yeah. Okay.
I did. It might be not your hair. It might be just pull it out a little bit. It's just because when we want to hear what you're saying, and that it's like very it's scratchy.
I'll just hold it out like this. The other thing I want to tell you that is a funny story about the group me's. The group me's are like a part of our lives. And, because my husband now coaches, so I didn't have the group me's when we were playing, but I was introduced to it as the coach's wife. So the group me's are great, and you know everything that's going on, and boom, 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 everybody shower. Where are we going to dinner? What are we doing after the game? What are we doing before the game? Who's bringing what? And then when you leave the team, it's just very simple. You're gone. It's just you're removed. Somebody removes you. So then, it could be your best friend, and it's like, oh, Cindy just removed her best friend from the group me. Bye, and that's just how it is. So when we left Michigan, I was like, I'm not taking myself off the group me, so I just want you guys to know I refuse. And then, so I could feel that there was like awkward silence, pause, and then all of a sudden a couple of laughs, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear anything. So I know that they probably had to say, okay, we should just need to start a new group me because Cindy will not leave. And nobody wants to take her off.
That's hilarious.
I know. I'm like, I'm not leaving.
Because but sometimes, because I'm on so many different chats for the kids' sports, do you guys ever find the group me's and sometimes overwhelming? Like times where you're like, oh my gosh, there's too much chatter. I need to pull myself out, or I need just to ignore this for a little while. Can you take us through that a little bit, or is it always welcoming?
Go ahead, Carly.
I'm not very overwhelmed because I'm really, as of right now, I'm only in one. I don't know what it's going to be like whenever, I'm like a full-on mom. I might be in some other ones, but I've got like my group chats. But no, the Browns wives and girlfriends one it's cool. It's very just informative.
It's your lifeline. Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but what I have heard on other teams, the group me is more like back and forth, and it can be a little dramatic. We don't have that. Ours is very, hey, you guys, we're doing this cycle event at 10 a.m. on this day, like cool. This, if you want to come. It's very, just informative. So
that's awesome.
because you know what's going on all the time. You don't miss anything, and things change, in terms of where we're going to be, and it's so nice to have it. But it is fun, and it is funny how it's a side of the game that a lot of people don't realize is when you get taken off the group me, it's crazy because it is so much a part of your life, and then all of a sudden it's a whole new group me, and you're like, okay, hi.
Oh my
Hi,
gosh,
I'm here.
this season. So my best friend, my NFL football best friend is Emily Mayfield, and they were traded to the Carolina Panthers. And when her name was removed from the group me, it killed me. I'm like, no,
Right.
it was just, it sounds silly, but it was such a real moment. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I sent her a screenshot with a broken heart emoji, and it's just
Right. Well, but that's so
It'll be
true.
your best friend. She'll stay your best friend, and you guys will.
Oh yeah, we talk every day. And I'm so thankful that, for the NFL, for meeting her, and our friendship. Obviously, it's because of football, but it'll go beyond football. So
it's beautiful.
But it did hurt to see that.
Right.
That's the
I'm
reality.
sure. Right. And you do it again. You have to be a very specific personality to roll with that. And not everyone is that, it's something you have to learn if you are not that personality. Some people are just born into it. They're that personality. They can just roll with it and do it. So I want to now take you to Baby Boy Teller, if I'm allowed to say that, right?
Yeah.
Baby Boy Teller. And I heard that his due date is Christmas.
It is Christmas Eve. And so Christmas Eve, and we have it's a home game that day.
Right.
Which just makes it so dramatic. But I mean, I hope I don't have him that day, just for everyone's sake.
So I am a Christmas baby. And yes, when
actual
Cynthia
Christmas Day?
Christmas Day. And I was 2 weeks late, and I absolutely love it. So
okay, you're the only person that's ever told me that.
So I think, and so I have to say, I think when you're on the day, it's different than if you're around the day.
Okay.
I will say that. But even Christmas Eve, it's still, I grew up in a very big family, and I'm one of 5, and my mom was one of 7, or is one of 7. So there was always something going on. So for many years, my mom would say, no, honey, this is not about you. I used to think the world was celebrating. She's like, it's Jesus, not Juliet. It's Jesus. And Cynthia knows us. I totally would. At church, I would jump up. It's my birthday. My mom is like a kindergarten teacher, very refined. And then I came out and I was lighting the world on fire. So it is, I absolutely loved it because everyone got together, and I still, even as an adult, love it. Because everyone is under I have my whole family. So even when my kids, I know when they go to college, everyone's going to be there. So I am not the best at celebrating other people's birthdays. When my kids, I'd be like, oh crap, I got to have a party, when they were little. But for me, it was a party built into a party.
Yeah.
So, and then all the relatives that you would see, and I was never a big, because there was a lot of us. I'm not I like getting presents, but it's not something that's what fuels me. If it's the present, that's nice.
It's not your love language.
No,
Right.
Exactly. I was going to say that, and then I was like, not everyone knows
Just
that.
having everybody there.
Having everyone there, the quality time is really what I loved. So it's going to be amazing, because that's the thing. You're going to make it special, whether it's around it or not, whether it's on it. And, it is what it is. I was 2 weeks late with every one of my children. My mom was late with all of us. So some people are early. My sister was early with all of her kids, but it's one of those things. It's going to be fun.
And, it's funny because you say that, that you're due on Christmas Eve, but, I know today you can make that decision. Are you going to induce to have the baby on Christmas Eve, or are you just going to let it be natural? And so have you made that decision on how you're going to handle it?
So, a couple of things before I forget to tell you guys, because this is interesting. So I'm just one of 2, me and my sister, and we're very close. And she's pregnant and due on Christmas Day. I
love that.
My mom is just over the moon.
My goodness.
This is my sister's second. She's having a second girl, but it's perfect because we're going through everything together, and we're we both were really sick the first half of pregnancy, and it's literally been everything is the exact same. We weigh the same. It's crazy.
That's so funny.
So she will probably, if I don't know if this is TMI, but she'll probably do another C-section because she did with her first baby. So she will probably go at 39 weeks. So I'm like, dang it. So I talked to my doctor, and She understands, my husband's profession and that I would like for him to be there. I'm in Cleveland, not by myself. I've got great friends, but kind of by myself. So in a perfect world, so she said that she would induce no earlier than 39 weeks. And then depending on how big he is, my husband was huge. He was 11.4 pounds when he was born.
Oh my Lord. Yeah.
And so if he's really big, she says, we can we'll see what happens. But yes, I'm not really a super control freak, but there is something about, because of football season, I want to know kind of when I'm going to give birth.
Right. And nowadays it can be, and Cynthia, I love that you asked that question, because so my younger sister and I had our kids, literally our first were a week apart, our second were a month apart.
Oh, cool.
And then she waited, but then I had my third and she had her third, and then she had the fourth, which I didn't because I was older. And we did not look the same. I gained 65 pounds and she gained 25 pounds. So everyone would be like, oh, are you having twins? And I'd be like, no, I'm just fat.
Why do people say that?
Well, and it's funny, but my sister's like if she gained weight, it looked like her skin was going to crack. Like, she has stretch marks. I have no stretch marks. And it's just funny. I just have a bigger build than she does. But our kids are so close because they're so like, they just are close in age, and we are not in the same city. But the thing that's funny is that she went early and I went late. So it was torture. So she would have the babies for 2 weeks and I'd be like, oh, and I would gain 10 more pounds every time.
This is not fair. This is not fair.
Yeah. And so it was always crazy. And then I had an emergency cesarean for my first, but then I did VBAC for the other two. But Cynthia, because I would love for you to talk about that really quickly, because back, when you were having the kids, it was different because there was not as many options. It's not like you had kids,
right,
in 1900s, but you know what I mean? But even now it's different. When I had mine, the options that happen now.
Right.
And did you and Tina have kids? You guys had kids at similar ages?
For me, it's funny, like, if you want to talk the game, I remember when we were in Philadelphia, one of the players was having a baby on game day, and he was like, I want to be there, and I want to see my baby born. A lot of the people were having a problem with that. They were like, well, this is what you do, and that you have to be there. And I remember being interviewed because Michael and I had my first son, Michael Vincent, and he wasn't there. And he had to go to the game, and we played Dallas. What sounds like the worst thing that happened to you in the world is one of the funniest stories that we have in our family, and it's a great thing. He was there for part of it, but he had to leave by the time that I had Michael Vincent, and it's just something that happened. But we were young, and we didn't have the choice. The baby came, and we didn't have the choice to stay either, because it's your job. So it was a very difficult, but not so difficult thing, because the decision was made for us. But I think later now today, the good thing is guys want to be there, and guys are different type of people. They're more verbal about wanting to be with their family. They're more verbal about what comes first. And it's also, we are able to schedule around that a little more than we were able to in the past. So I like how you're thinking, that you're like, Wyatt wants to be there. I mean, it's a beautiful day, and I think if it can be done, and I think it can be done in today's age, that's a really cool thing to plan for. But sometimes life, they always say just go ahead and make plans and make God laugh, because we have no idea. But I think you're ready for all of them. But the one thing I wanted to ask you though is, I remember before I had babies and we were just married, and seeing all the kids come to run up to their dads after the game and just them pick them up, and just that. And I remember being like, I want that. I cannot wait for that. Are you feeling like that? Are you guys just like going crazy to see? Oh my gosh,
it's so sweet. Like how at training camp, that's like the time when everyone brings their babies to see the dads and everything. That was like, I was still so new to pregnancy, and it was just so sweet to see that. Like, I cannot wait. And it will be fun because, there's never a perfect time in the NFL to have a baby. Most people try to do off season, but I keep thinking like, okay, next year he won't be walking yet, but he'll be like a full on, like 9-month-old baby. So it'll be really sweet to see. And I cannot wait for that part, because I just think it's so cute.
And I know that recently your niece was able to experience one of the first football game, right? And that was really cute.
I love her. Oh, thank you. I'm obsessed with her. So we're very lucky. So on Wyatt's side, he's one of 5, and we will be the 11th. My baby will be the 11th grandchild on that side. So, and we love them all dearly, but there is just something so special about your own, like for me, like my sister's daughter. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just love her so much. And so they met us in Atlanta for the game, and she just, gosh, if anybody is watching or listening to this and wants to watch that video, it's so sweet and pure.
It's really sweet. And so that's what you can find Carly on. We have her Twitter, which is fun. You can tell a little bit about what you do on Twitter, and then Carly's IG as well, where you can find that. That's where I saw it when we knew we were having you on. I was like, oh, let me just check, and I saw that, and I said, oh my gosh, that's the sweetest thing. It's the cutest thing, and you could see how excited she was. She was so excited.
Yeah, so cute.
Oh gosh, I love her so much. She so whenever we were finding out the sex of the baby, I really didn't think I cared. I'm not that person that's like, I want a boy, or I really want my girl. I was like, it's a blessing that I'm pregnant, whatever it is, it is. But when I found out it was a boy, I was like, okay, I don't have to replace right now my relationship with Charlotte, because I love her so much. And of course you're going to love your baby girl. You got to love her a little more. So I'm like, okay, I still have my niece, that's probably sounds silly, but
no, not at all. Not at all. And even when you have your second, it's the same, because I have two boys. My sister had 2 boys, but there's the 5 of us, there's girls and then 1 boy. So we had all these boys. And so it was really funny. And my daughter, Penelope, is the first granddaughter, which was really, but it was like, there's something special about that. There's a special thing. And, when my sister and I had our kids all at the same time, definitely for my mom, it was a little overwhelming, because it's like, who needs me? Where do I need to be? And all of that. But it was pure, I wasn't able to be there for her birth, where in other families, people could be there, but we got to experience a lot of stuff together. And I have special relationships with each of her children because of the relationships that my kids have with them as well. So there's something really special to that.
Yes. Plus, I also come from one sister, and it's very emotional having one sister. And that's all you have. She is that person for you. And I feel that way about my sister. And so when I saw her first baby, it's really, isn't it just so emotional? And it's a part of like you forever, those relationships with those kids.
Anything for her. I just love her so much. It's very special. And like I said, I love all of my Teller nieces and nephews very much, and I'm sure they would say the same. There's something about your own. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it's
totally.
A beautiful thing. That's
so then
great.
I also want, and it's such a special time. I mean, really what you're in right now is such a special adventure, because it's all an adventure, right? You don't know what's happening. So also I have to bring it, and Cynthia's going to chuckle, but dogs. I don't think I've been able to talk about dogs on any of my podcasts. And when I saw that you had a Weimaraner, I was like, oh, because my Doyle, who is not with us anymore, who was my first male boxer and my absolute heart, his best friend was Blue Childs, Christina. Yes, I'm talking about you on my podcast. And he was a Weim, and they were inseparable. And my sister, the one that had the kids all at the same time, she had Bryce Canyon, who was a Weimaraner. So that was like my first. So we had the boxers and the Weims, and I just absolutely love them. So how old is your Weimaraner? And
he's 2. He was 2 in March on National Puppy Day. His name is Butler, and Butler Blue, and that's his name when he's in trouble. Butler Blue. He's probably gonna hear me and come in here. And it's funny. I grew up with only boxers. Like we always had boxers.
Oh my!
Yeah, and then we randomly, Wyatt and I during COVID, we were like, we want a Weimaraner puppy. And which getting a dog during COVID, like during quarantine, was either a blessing or a curse. You could either really focus with them, or I feel like there were a lot of people that got puppies and got rid of them. I hope that didn't happen too much. But he's a good boy. But they have pretty similar, like, how boxers, I feel like boxers and Weimaraners are both very like anxious.
And they're very loyal, and high energy. Yes.
Very loyal. Yeah. They're kind of, look nothing alike, but very similar personalities.
They are.
Yeah. So Butler, he's our baby. And we got him March 2020, And
Wow.
yeah, well, no, actually we got him. I guess we got him May because he was 8 weeks old. But he's a good boy. We just bought a house in Cleveland, and so I got to give him a yard, which was a big deal for me because they need to run a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh
I
my
just
God.
put him on a
that's the
diet.
thing. Oh, you did.
Yeah. Well, he weighs 90,
But it's
95 pounds. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, you're getting a little bit too thick. You're on the pregnancy diet with mama.
Right. But it is
Yeah.
special. It's special when you're growing your family that way. And so I have to say, Dave, that's in the audience, he's got 3 boxers. And so I know. So it's so funny. The other day at a show, he's like commented on something I said, and he's like, I have 3. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I did not have the 4th child. I got the 2nd boxer because my husband's like, oh my gosh, I can't. We were a little older, and he's like, I don't want to have a 4th. And I'm like, all right, well, I need a good reason. And he had a great reason. So I was like, all right, I need a 2nd dog. But I think it's so fun for you to be able to grow your family. And I remember when I first had mine, and I was so worried that Lucy, that people weren't going to love Lucy the same, and what was going to change. And it all just worked out so beautifully because there was nothing different. I remember thinking, what if the baby's allergic to the dog? He's going to have to deal, because I'm not.
What was she like? What was your dog like with your first baby? I'm curious.
Beautiful. I mean, they were inseparable. It's so funny. We got like a video camera for our wedding, and it was like the first social media. Like I was like, oh my God, I was like vlogging before it was a thing. I literally talked to the 2 of them. It makes me sound a little crazy, but Cynthia's going to laugh because she knows it.
No, I love it.
I would talk to the 2 of them and just like take everything that they were doing. So like my husband can see, and we have all of that. Like, I mean, he walked really early. Montgomery walked. We didn't know what we were having, if we were having a boy or girl, but he walked really early. And because he would hold on to her, but she was a spaz too, because people were like, oh, boxers are so gentle, and they're gonna, like, she would also knock him over, and I'd be like, well, she's a total spaz. She's not. But they were like inseparable. They would play. He would like find toys to play with her, and we lived in the city. We were in New York City. And we would go to the park and all the time, but she hated other dogs. So she would get into like massive fights. So I always had to be careful, like when Lou, so I like a lot of times it would just be like on our personal walk, because she got to walk like
So
three times a day. But yeah, it's such a beautiful time. When I nursed, she was my nursing pillow. She always had to be touching him and touching me. And it really,
sweet.
I loved watching that.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan,
My sister
Carly?
said, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you have a plan, like, of how you're going to introduce the baby to?
Well, I was going to ask, like, some people have told me to like send a blanket home from the hospital. Yes. So like before I get home, send one.
Yes. That's
for
soiled.
Butler to cuddle with.
Yeah. And I did all that. And I'll have to show you a picture, because we have a huge portrait of Lucy with Montgomery's hat in her mouth that she carried with her all the time before we came home. It was like
she was like, that's my baby.
She kept it. She kept it. But so there's like all those things, and we can talk offline about that. But yeah, there's like you just bring it home so they can sniff and smell and
so sweet. That's going to be, those pictures are going to be really cute.
Oh, I can't wait.
Butler with
I know, I can't wait either.
That's really
I remember when my sister had my niece, she's at the time, her dog now has passed away, but Louie, her dog, he was a red lab. She, every night, she got up all throughout the night at the beginning to nurse. And she said every night Louie got up with her and laid right by her. And they're just like, they're the best.
Sweet.
And
oh my God.
she said that time in your life, or that time if you do happen to be a nursing mom, she said that 3 a.m. when you feel like no one in the world is awake, you feel so lonely, and having your dog, it means so much more than you would think.
Nice.
Like,
it does. And it's conversation. And that's the other thing. I mean, when I say, and I know it sounds crazy, but I would talk to both of them, but that's why Montgomery also spoke really early, because it was all the talking, and, I would have conversations with the both of them. No one talked back to me, but I just.
Right, but you loved it.
I loved it.
So
that's
cute.
awesome.
I'm really excited for you.
Oh my
Thank
Lord.
you.
I love that. And I have to say, I want to talk about a couple things. One, I want to talk about the initiative you guys are involved with, and how you seem to have really just jumped in Cleveland, and just, you're really getting to know the town. I mean, I'm from Pittsburgh, so we were raised to hate Cleveland.
Right.
But my husband is from Youngstown. There's so many Browns fans, so I was in the middle of all that, and I got to see such loyalty with the Dog Pound and the people of Cleveland and their love for the team through many generations. But I want to talk about how you kind of have the connection with some of the fans and how you have a good rapport with some of these fans that I think they probably go crazy. And I also want to talk about block hunger.
So, yeah, so I've said this before, but Wyatt doesn't have social media. And I am like, I say this now, when I have a baby, I might be different. But as of right now, I'm like, all over social media. I love Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. And I engage a lot with fans and Browns fans on Twitter. And I really enjoy it. Now, occasionally I can get a little opinionated. Last year, I was kind of bad about it with, anyway, I get a little opinionated. Most of them agree with me. But for the most part, I just really enjoy just getting in touch with people and letting them realize, like, we're just, because Wyatt's really good at what he does. We're just people, and I love the back and forth and getting to know people from all over. I mean, because there's Browns fans, just like Steelers fans and everything. They're everywhere. And I actually last year, I don't know if I'm going to do it this year, but last year I put out a tweet. And I said, hey guys, like, I would love to send out Christmas cards to Browns fans. DM me your address if you want one. And I totally underestimated how many people, thousands of messages.
Oh my God.
And I guess I just underestimated Browns fans. So I apologize, but I got out. So I said, okay, I'm going to do as many as I can. So I sent 1,000 Christmas cards.
Oh my
So I got
gosh.
them made. Like, they were cute. It was from the day that Wyatt signed his contract. So it's kind of like targeted for Browns fans. It wasn't just us sitting in front of our house.
I love that.
They had to love that. They had to love it.
Oh, I still have people, like, at training camp and at games. I have people say, "I loved your Christmas card. Thank you for the Christmas card." And so I kind of feel like I need to do it again.
That's so cool, Carly. That is so cool.
Again, like, it was, right, we couldn't do anything during COVID. Even last year, we could hardly leave. So once I committed, I wasn't about to not do it. So, it was just like something little that took, it was pretty tedious. It took time out of my day, but I had the time for it. And it was a way for us to connect with fans on this I didn't handwrite the card, but the address and everything, I handwrote it. And I wish I could have sent more, but 1,000 was a lot. So
it's beautiful. I think it's such
so
a beautiful
gesture.
Something that it's refreshing and kind of
it was just, it wasn't like I was able to I wasn't giving necessarily or giving back, but it was just a little gesture. And who doesn't love a little Christmas card?
You are
connected.
The
connecting.
fact that you took the time to write, that's something that not a lot of people can do, even with family and friends these days, because it is tedious to write a card. It's hard to write. Christmas cards are mostly digital now. So the fact that you did that just had to resonate with the kind of people that you are. And
it was fun.
They all love it. Yeah.
It was fun. Awesome. And so I try to, talk on Twitter and kind of represent us in a good way. Cause Wyatt is like an amazing person. If you ever watch like an interview of him, or, he's actually like extremely social and talkative, but he just doesn't like social media, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which I think can be very toxic for a lot of players. And so I am kind of grateful that he's not into it, cause I can handle it. For the 10% of people that send me nasty stuff, I can handle it. It's fine. I don't want it to affect him.
That is so interesting that you say that. It's like that this begins the long journey of that taking over and making sure, like there's certain things that in a partnership, especially in the league, I think, like what you can handle and how you can contribute to that side of it and what he can handle. And I think that's really cool on your part, like to see that right away. And it'll lead to other great decisions that you're going to make as he goes through the league.
Thank you. Yeah, and to also talk about the campaign that we're doing with Elk and Elk, which is so they're a law firm in Cleveland.
Okay.
And they reached out to us, and we were super honored because I feel like everyone wants to be philanthropic and do fundraising things. And sometimes it's kind of hard to find like the thing you're passionate about, or to find the organization that will work with you. And so we're really grateful that we are at the place in Wyatt's career where we had someone reach out to us, because I mean, they have been awesome to work with. So what we're doing is, we did a little commercial. I was not part of it, but I don't know, I helped. And for every game that Wyatt has a pancake block, which is, do you know what a pancake block is?
I do.
Okay. Yeah.
So you got to tell, because I don't know what that is.
Carly, I have to tell you, this is really cool.
Okay.
So my, one of my best friends, and a lot of people can say that from our hometown in Penn Hills, PA, there was an offensive guard named Bill Freilich. And he passed away about 4 years ago now, and from cancer. And they named that after him. The pancake block was named after Bill Freilich's tackling style, because he just would kind of knock the guys over like into piles of, just like you flip a pancake.
Oh, cool.
And so when you say that, like it already, I was like, oh my God. So that is very cool that
that's awesome.
That Wyatt has that, because they don't say that about a lot of players, that they have that
That's
ability.
so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's like, Juliet, it's like a lot of the guys, they all block, right? Like all these guards and offensive linemen block, but a pancake, which is actually, I mean, it's an actual stat that they count. A pancake block is whenever you block and then like, I guess like kind of like put them on their back. So instead of I don't know what they do, but instead of just blocking, you like, complete the block and they're on their back.
Right.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
So cool. Thank you.
So move them out of the way.
Yeah. So for every game that Wyatt has a pancake block, which he has a lot, like multiple games. So every game that he has a pancake block, they are donating $770, and then they are donating $77 per point that the Browns score per game. So it's coming out to thousands a week. And they're donating it to the St. Augustine Hunger Center, which is in Cleveland. And we're going to do it all season, but then we're going to try to do an event around Thanksgiving with them, specifically with pancakes. But so that's the whole thing. That's the whole, like, the 77 is Wyatt's number, and then it was their. I mean, they've done great. Like, it was their idea. I think they're being really extremely generous.
Oh my God. That's a lot of money. Like, that's a lot for a pancake block. My God.
Well,
so
they,
great.
Originally they said they wanted to do $770 per pancake block. And Wyatt was like, you guys, like, that's really nice, but I have like sometimes like 10 a game. They were like, okay, just kidding.
Pancakes a game. I love it.
I love that he was like, well, wait, no, I'm really good at this. Like, this is what I do.
Yeah. He said, that's really nice, but it's going to be a lot. So yeah. So then we met in the middle, and it's still, I mean, it's extremely generous.
So great.
Extremely. And that's so cool.
Like, yeah, I think also, is there other ways for people to get involved with what they're doing? Is there like a site that people could kind of tap into besides what you're doing, maybe contribute to that?
So StAugustineHungerCenter.org, I believe. We haven't actually been there yet, just to be transparent. We haven't been there yet, so I don't have like a ton of information about it. We just filmed the commercial last week, so I'll know like a little bit more later. I wish I could provide more information, but
we can put it in the show notes. We'll put it in the show notes when the episode goes out. So no worries. Cool. Yeah. We'll get more of that so people can look it up. And even if it's like goes right to Ohio, it can be also one of the things people can follow, right? Yeah. They can follow your journey with the new baby and your pup and then this as well. I think that's like, what people want is they want to see the good things. And that's why this show is so important. It's we're showing the good things, the good side of humans. And there's so many good humans out there, and their stories are what connects people. I mean, this with the new baby and the puppy, like your dog right away. I was like, oh, I love her already. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, I love you guys.
But that's the thing. And Cynthia always asks such great questions, and it's really important. So I love that you guys you're doing that, and the initiative sounds amazing.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, keep it up. And it's great. And I'll definitely send you information about everything that I know of. And I'm sure that you know about like the Facebook group, and I'm sure you know about if you don't know about Off the Field, I'll send you information about Off the Field. It's October Rush, so I'll make you my October Rush girl to tell you all the great things that we do. We're really working to get in current wives, current spouses, because the whole purpose is to be like that gatekeeper and to help young girls through, help them navigate through. So we're really pushing to bring in our young girls to participate. Most of it is service. I think that's what separates us, is what we do in service. But you know how that is. When you do something in service, you end up forming these friendships and this sisterhood, and you end up doing so much together. So I'll tell you all about that. And, just like hopefully get you to the Super Bowl, because I think you never miss the Super Bowl. That's the one thing I always want to say. Never miss the Super Bowl.
Do you always
hopefully
go?
You'll be in it. Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
The events, the Super Bowl starts off, there's so many events for women at the Super Bowl. And Juliet will laugh because, I came up with this tagline at one point because I had to do it for the playbook. And it's like, there's so much for a girl to do at the Super Bowl. And we started realizing that why we were all there and we're all doing things. Like besides, I do the Thread Luncheon on Thursday, then Off the Field has the fashion show on Friday. And then of course NFLPA has the NFLPA party on Saturday. I used to do a flag football game with Touched by Alyssa Milano. Would hope to bring that back. Just COVID kind of like changed a couple things. That was one of them. So there's so much to do, but I look at the Super Bowl for all current players and spouses. This is your networking dream. Mm-hmm. This is you meeting your people, the people you play against, the women that are there that you might end up being with at some point. And you go to these, you go to the Super Bowl with your group of friends, like call Emily and say, hey, well, hopefully you guys are in it, like you hope to be in it. But if you're not in it,
I don't want to be pessimistic and be like, we're not going to be in it because we might.
No. You want to be in it. You could always be in it, just get in the playoffs. But call your girlfriends from everywhere and say, let's do a trip. Let's get the guys and go to the game. And there's, go do Radio Row, talk about what you're doing, talk about what you're doing with St. Augustine, talk about what you're doing in business, meet other people. That's where it clicks. And that's what I would have to say, make that your goal. Don't give those Super Bowl tickets away. Keep them and go to that game and go early. And go to the and be in the fashion show. Yeah.
That's honestly such good advice, because I've never had anyone tell me the benefit of the women going. Really, I've never known.
Well, I mean, and Cynthia, I don't mean to interrupt because I know this is, you're more realm. But the thing that's really cool is now that I've been there for this last one, seeing the connections and then the collaborations of like, hey, this is what I'm doing for business. And it's like, you know what? This is when my husband's out of the league, these are the women I'm going to go talk to. Hey, I want to be able to now contribute, or I have this business idea, or I want to get into real estate, or, I want to do these things. And that's where it all happens. And it was so beautiful. The podcast was there. We have the live podcast, but it was so beautiful to watch it. And then afterwards talking about it, and me being like, feeling like a fly on the wall, even though I was there, but since I'm not in the league,
part of it.
But I know, and you're the best, but you know what I mean? It was like, so like, I think there's half the times I had to like shut my mouth because I was like, oh my God, that was so cool. Those two just came together. And then the story of the fashion show, I just want to tell really quick, Sharice Brown, and her best friend. So Angela, they used to go to all of Tim's events, and they would be like, okay, ladies, you can just, and I think this is, Cynthia, you'll laugh because I think you're the mall when they told you to go to the mall, but hey, you guys can go off and do things. And they were like, well, no, we don't want to do that. So that's how they created and Cynthia, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how they created Off the Field. It was like, no, we have things to do. We are powerful. Our husbands are powerful, but we are also powerful, and we have aspirations, and we have things that we've done. Let's connect and let's build this, and let's grow this, and let's stay. And then let's help the next generations know that, hey, you have a voice too. You have a voice, and we're together, and we feel each other because we're women because we connect there, but we are sisters because we are in the league together.
Exactly. Yep. And it's 22 years going, the Super Bowl fashion show. It's always sold out. It's always current wives and women in the area that are modeling. So, and it's really fun because then the players come afterwards. So something I would love to see you do, like to see you get in the fashion show. You'll get addicted to being on that runway because it is.
I'm going to be 2 months postpartum, so I don't know.
Well,
you want me on that.
You could, yeah. I mean, we've had girls that were like, could have delivered right there on the runway.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and it's so fun. And
it's safe and it's comfortable.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. You would absolutely love it. It's family oriented fashion,
Cool.
you know, runway. It's not, you know, the guys are so funny to see it together with the girls, and the girls just have that moment, you know, but planning, it's great. But what we'll do, like for instance, last year I was in LA, we find a charity in that area. And we were lucky because Holly Robinson Pete, who really had the first fashion show that I ever knew of, and I actually even got to attend that was 23 years ago. She has a foundation called the Hollywood Foundation. That's the charity we chose. And we were able to raise $75,000 for that charity for Parkinson's and autism. So we go into that city and we impact the city, as NFL women. And then
that's
people are like, wow, these NFL women came in here and they just took over, and then they left their mark. They left something to our charities, because there's not just one. We pick women to honor, we pick charity to honor, and then there's always another charity that we kind of like donate some to, because it's hard to pick one.
That's amazing.
It's cool.
Right, and
you would love it.
And the energy and the vibe and the love was what like really got me. And it was one of those things that I was like, wait, Cynthia, you guys been doing this for how many years? And how much money do you raise? And why isn't this being broadcasted? Why isn't this being talked about? So we were like, we're going to broadcast it. we're going to do it. Might as well take it into our own hands. We really did. We really did. It's such a great event.
I love it. And I love my girls, and I love the girls off the field. And, you know, I always am like, there's so many different groups, you know, and I always like, there's one that's sitting around the table talking with your sisters and just being real. And then there's one that get you out there into the community, servicing, and that's off the field. And to me, like that mine thread is just linking everybody to these great groups and these great women and these great resources. You know, it's like we're doing, you know, and there's so many things you can do, you know, if you're interested.
So if I want to like tell the Browns Wives group me about NFL Thread, what's the best way for is it just, do they go to the website? Like, what's the best way for them to join?
They can, to get to know it, they can go to nflthread.com and see everything that I'm doing. And that will introduce them to everything, the playbook, the podcast, and the platform. But if they want to join it, it's private and it's secure. It's nflthread.net. And that's where they'll fill out all their information. And just when they fill out the information, it gives them a profile. And then it's like this cute little thing where it shows you all the different things you're connected in, groups that you can join. You know, But thanks for asking that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, I love that.
That's
awesome. It's so amazing. I mean, I know we told you an hour and we're a little over, so we could talk for days.
I could sit here and talk all. That's what Wyatt always says. I could just talk forever.
Me too. I totally could talk forever. But thank you so much for joining YNS Live with NFL Thread, Carly. And this has just been such a pleasure. And I know so many people, again, we had so many people jumping in and out of the room. I'm getting texts, my phone's blowing up like, oh my God, I love her. I love that. You know, I love the story. It's, and so I know when you said before, I don't know. I mean, you have a being about you. You are just, you're lovable. I mean, I don't know if people have told you that, but you really do have a great lovable
energy. Gosh. You're making my hormones. I'm going to start tearing up.
Yes. We'll be following you because I just can't wait to watch the baby, the whole process. Wait. It's so fun.
It'll be interesting to see when he comes.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know.
ESPN I'm sure they'll be excited if it is a game day.
Oh, right.
Or whoever. Fox, whatever.
It would be fun. Oh, wouldn't it be fun? Yeah, like
it's so fun.
Get that phone call on the field. They used to have these phones. You'd be like, well, your wife's in labor. You got to go.
My mom will be rushing from Virginia. My sister will be in labor. Wyatt will be on the football field. I mean, it'll be a movie.
I love it.
It's going to be another adventure. Just look at
Yes.
Life is an adventure. And it's
then we'll have to do a mini episode and then we can just talk about the chaos of that day. And I'll be like, well, now I have a baby.
Oh no, we will definitely have you back and talking about that, because that's another important thing for the players to hear. I mean, the wives to hear, because it's not only you're having a baby, but you're having a baby in a bit of a spotlight. You're having, your husband's not going to be there as much because it's during season. So there's so many different things that you can navigate, but there's so many people you can connect with that can also share stories that are going to make you feel like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. Right. That's not something that baby pancake, Chris Rossi said. Baby pancake. Thanks, Chris.
That's his name. How'd you get it?
Baby pancake. I love that.
Thanks, Chris.
Baby cake. I love it.
I love it.
Beautiful. Well, God
I love
bless
it.
you. We're really excited for you.
Thank you so much. Y'all are amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks
for
again.
joining us today.
Yeah. And everyone, this will be out in a couple weeks. We'll fill you in on that, but definitely follow Carly on Twitter and Instagram, and don't forget to join YNS Live. We have many shows coming up: YNS Live with NFL Thread and YNS Live with NFL Thread Pivot. If you're not following Cynthia and myself and Carly, do that, because you'll know all the series and all the people that we're having come up, and then leading us up into the Super Bowl, which is a really exciting time. So we will see you guys. We'll see you guys next week, right, Cynthia? We'll see them next week.
Absolutely. I know.
Yeah, we have Ashley Brown and then Ashley Peterson. Wait, can I tell the funny story? So Ashley Peterson, who's Adrian's wife, her maiden name was Brown. And we have Ashley Brown, who's Coach Brown's wife.
Right.
And so I was going to make sure I could spell them right. And I was like, wait a second, I'm so confused. They're the same name, but different faces. Like, I had to call Cynthia and I'd be like, okay, this is, and I met both of them and they were lovely. So I knew who they were, but they both had the same name.
I love that. Yes, indeed. Those are going to be great shows. I love them.
Great
both.
shows.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
really
So
fun.
it's the 20, and you guys can see in our profile, but it's the 20th and then also the 27th. So Ashley Brown, Coach's wife, and off the field, she's going to be on the 20th, and then the 27th will be Ashley Peterson. And Carly, again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was
Thank you
awesome.
so much. That's great.
And
I have to go make game day chicken for the team, so I got to go. It's Wednesday. It's treat
game day
day.
chicken.
I know. I mean, I just love Kara McElwain, our head coach's wife, and they do treat day every Wednesday for CMU. The guys come running off the field, and we literally have tables up of treats, and they just run through, and they're like, thank you, and they're grabbing everything. And I told Karen, I can't bake. I'm terrible, but I can make chicken.
Yeah,
I make a good game day chicken.
I bet.
So
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you everyone again, Carly and Cynthia, and YNS Live with NFL Thread. If you're here on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or if you're watching and listening to the replay, or if you're here live in the studio, thank you again for joining another
Great
show.
company.
Let's see what kind of music are we going to get. Oh, we got some good music, not the slow polka.
Good job. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.